do you remember a movie called Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes?
I remember of it. Unfortunately, I'm not well versed in it.
Okay. What I can imagine
Not
is
Judge Dredd, but Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. What I can imagine is something like that movie. In that movie, he wakes up in the future, right? And he's driving, and he forces the car to do something because the car is automated. AI is driving the car, whatever you want to call it. But then he forces it to do something, and he gets into a wreck, like runs off the road, whatever. Boom, gets into a wreck, and and what happens is the inside of the car just like instantly sprayed with foam, and like locked him in the spot. And then after the wreck, he like breaks out of the foam like he's breaking out of a shell, like unhurt, unscathed.
Yeah.
I imagine that.
Yeah, so they're gonna invest in that system pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting that the cars will be able to drive themselves pretty well. I'm just saying, like from a liability perspective, you'd think that
Now you can't do that in those cars, I guess, because there's no steering wheel, right?
you
In the
cannot
robo-taxis,
force them.
You can't like force it to do something.
I guess not.
Oh, that's gonna be weird.
Do you have any control?
Yeah, I don't even know. That's gonna be weird. So you're gonna take a robo taxi? What is it? What is it called again? Do you know? You don't.
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. Either robo taxi. Is it robo taxi?
I'd probably be willing to take one, to be honest with you.
I'd want to try it out.
You could go to Austin and try one out. Are they on the streets there yet?
I think they're on the streets there. Yeah.
Waymo's a competing company. Is that right?
Are they competing though? Question.
I don't know. You're the research man on that.
I don't think they're competing.
What do you mean?
I
by
mean,
that?
they're competing, like literally trying to do the exact same thing. But are they really actually in that space?
Well, they went to market first, I guess.
They went
Is
to
that right?
market first, yeah.
But they depend.
I
They
think they're
depend
gonna
on
get
like
beat, though.
internet connection or something. Like they had a network outage in San Francisco or something, and all the Waymos just kind of like stopped. I think.
Did they really?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
No, if you want to talk about AI and practical use of AI, I think Tesla is where you go to, though. That is a like real world practical use of AI within their full self-driving that anybody can experience. You can go to a Tesla dealership and do a demo drive.
Okay.
Type in an address, and AI drives you. I mean, that's the most practical AI application I could possibly think of that's out there that anybody can use at the moment.
Okay, that's great. Yeah. And people in engineering are saying, how do I help
How
that?
does that
How do
apply
I
to
help
me?
that in my job? It'll help me get to my job.
Crud, my phone is ringing.
That's
gonna be
rule
in
number one in podcasting. As I turn my volume down,
Let me turn that off.
check that out.
Yeah, the question there
already
would
good.
be, and you're going to a conference for it next week, is how does that actually apply in our industry or in engineering just in general, right? Like, how do you get that to apply there?
Well, okay, so for one example, instance, we do a lot of 3D modeling facilities, and you start with your equipment, you lay out the equipment, and then you got to connect two primary things between that equipment. One is the piping, and one is the cabling. And there's always been a lot of discussion about how to auto route those two objects. And some of the software packages do portions of this. To what level, I don't know, but like there's an application, because all you're telling it there is, I've got to get to point A to point B. I want to choose, the shortest reasonable route, but I don't want it to do anything goofy. And I have to worry some about my weight, and in the case of power, like what power I'm mixing with, which cables I'm mixing with, and stuff like that. So, and you got to make sure that you don't overfill your support system, your tray systems, and whatnot. So, like if you're saying like a very similar parallel is just to map out the connections between these devices, whereas, in the past that's been a human task to route those things, put them into the model, and say, okay, I've designed my facility. And I think there's certainly some of that work going on where you're just placing the big objects and then saying, okay, fill in the gaps between those.
I think that's a practical application of it.
Now
right?
that's the
Like,
physical
but then
layout.
the question is, how do you actually make that work, right?
Yeah.
So what are all the details that go into that? Because what you're doing there is you're using your brain to kind of map that out, right? And so what you're suggesting is, would you use AI to do that, or would it be like augmented to where a person kind of does that and then guides AI to do the rest, or how would that work?
Well, I would think you would um, have your basic premise, your basic rule set that those decisions are supposed to be made, and then you you know let it do the route, and then you look at it at the end and make sure that you agree with that. So I don't think it's augmented, like you got to hold its
You got to
hand.
hold its hand.
Just say, okay, yeah, go ahead and apply all of your knowledge and route this. Because at the end of the day, people don't care that much about that routing. I mean, there are some times you get yourself in a little chemical engineering problem by routing a pipe weird. Cabling, you just don't really care. I mean, it just has to make a connection. Now, I'm not really talking about designing the actual. This is more about the physical task
yeah.
of those things have to connect. Just connect them. The decision about how big each pipe is or how big each cable is, that's, I think, probably like a one step removed from, like, if you're looking at low hanging fruit, it would be their routing.
Yeah. Okay. Who traditionally does that in today's time, right? Is that
Piping designer or instrument designer.
okay? Is that done? I guess would that be a high value resource center like doing that today?
Maybe.
Okay.
And there are some softwares that attempt to do it. I don't know how well they do it,
How
to be
well
honest
you
with you.
do it?
It's also something in the model that's like a bit of a question. When you're doing a 3D model, how far down do you go with that? What are you modeling? Are, like, in some of those scenarios, the pipe would always be modeled, but like cables wouldn't always be modeled. They would just, like, here's my electrical equipment. There is a cable between it, but I'm not going to put
You're
that
not
in the
gonna put
model
that in the
because
model.
I'm mostly doing in the past. I was mostly doing the model to, number one, make sure I got all my connections right, but number two, generate isometrics for fabrication of the pipe, right? Very precise bends and welds and whatnot with the pipe. So I would do the model, and then so, like, the question with cabling and whatnot is, am I really going to get down to the point where I'm going to diagram out every single cable in an industrial facility in the model? And I think with this AI usage, if you say, well, AI could throw those cables into an appropriate tray, split them as needed, route them realistically, I'm sure that would be applicable. In fact, I'd be interested if somebody wants to come on and tell me about it who's already doing that, because I'm sure some people are doing it. I just don't know to what level of success.
Yeah, I think that would be a good application of it. I think in the industry, from what I'm seeing, is it's used in. That's kind of I don't want to say a bottom up approach, but in a way that's kind of a bottom up. I think right now what we're seeing is that it's used mainly in like, I guess like simulation of process calculations or something of that, where it can run multiple simulations to find the best application. Wouldn't you say?
Maybe so. I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm not sure. Yeah, not sure.
Well, where have you seen it used?
What? AI?
Yeah. Where have you seen it tried to be used? I guess is what I'm getting at. Like, where do you see it being applied to today? You gave like a theory of where it could be, but where do you see people actually trying to use it the most?
I don't have an answer for that.
It's a weird conversation. You don't have an answer to that? What do
No.
you mean, man? You go to meetings all the time.
I know.
You don't have any answer.
Not off the top of my head.
Is it because I'm putting you on the spot and you're nervous?
I don't. You talking about new project execution engineering? I'm not seeing it right now.
Okay. Well, I don't believe that. I think you are seeing it. You're seeing it in two areas. One area, I think you're seeing it in like what I said, like the conceptual design of something, where they can run simulations multiple times. And then the other area is like, I guess, data correlation, where they just want to feed it a bunch of information and then they want it to tell you what that information is, or somehow correlate and tie all those bits and pieces together. Those are the two main areas that I'm
Yeah,
seeing
I
that
just thought of that more.
tried to be applied in our industry today.
Okay,
I don't think it's going well.
I was thinking about project execution. And I meant more like new project execution, where you have a clean slate to work with. Where would someone apply that? If you're talking about,
Yeah,
yes,
just
I want to.
in the
I want
industry,
to
where is
apply
it
it to a pile of documents, and I want to gain insight from those documents. Yes, sure, definitely. There's work being done there, because that's just the easiest AI technology, was being able to read things like a human and make sense of them with a little bit more speed and volume than you could do if you're trying to process it. Not a little bit more, but a lot more volume.
The problem I see there is that it depends on how the model was trained and what the model was trained on how it actually makes sense of that data, because it's engineered data, right? It's authored information, and if it doesn't understand the context of how it was authored, it sometimes gets it wrong, if you will.
Yeah. I'm a big believer of having a good, solid data foundation to work with, meaning generally some type of database tool that's sitting underneath your engineering concept. And one of the challenges with this whole AI boom is that there's a tendency to dismiss that need and say, well, because this AI technology can process so many documents so easily, we don't really need to build some of those fundamental pieces anymore.
Yeah.
We'll just apply AI on top of a pile of paper that, yes, it's helping, but it may be fundamentally limited because you didn't build the right foundation to set it upon.
Well, and then, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. But then what is that paper that you're applying it to as well, right? I mean, we had that case scenario a couple weeks back where we were talking to one of our clients, and they said that it worked out great. It sucked all the information in, and it kind of correlated it. But then there were multiple documents of the same thing. And so then which one's right? It can't tell you that, really, right? It can just tell you that here is the information. And so then the guy goes out into the field and orders the wrong piece of equipment, and that costs, equipment costs, that costs delays in the ordering process and your lead times, that could set back turnaround schedules if somebody does that, right? So I think that's a bit of a problem there too.
Agreed.
Where else are you seeing it?
Kids use it a lot for homework.
Where else could it be applied? In our industry, not for your house. Kids aren't doing homework anymore. They're just using AI to do their homework.
Actually, I was doing homework with my son last night, little 8th grade math, and he didn't use the internet or ChatGPT at all, which I thought was great. Yeah, he was just looking at his notes from class.
Oh, wow.
We got him a whiteboard. We're doing this homework on a whiteboard. I went to the internet a couple of times to get formulas to verify what he had in his notes. But we both stayed away from the idea of just asking for the answer. It was great. I was shocked because I've been a little worried about that maybe it was just too tempting as a student to just feed things through. And I've been trying to stay away from that. It's like when you have something that you know is a bad idea, but you don't even want to ask about it because you know that if you ask the question, it'll inherently provide the idea. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, kind of.
So anyway, that was a great experience. But yeah, I just want to throw that little nugget in there. Little 8th grade math discussion.
A use of not using
exactly
technology, though. Like
exactly.
That's an example of not using any
That's
technology.
an instance where you want them to know it
first.
Yes, you want to know it first. I have the same situation. I got a daughter getting ready to turn 16, and the question is, she'd be safer if we just bought her a car that drove herself. but then, it's kind of like those kids that never learned to drive a standard. and so they could only drive an automatic. And in a pickle, they would have been ill prepared if they had to drive a standard. And so now, forget the standard, but nobody knows how to drive those anymore. But now you've
I
got
was
the
gonna say those are pretty much phased out.
yeah, I know.
I think Toyota even came out like a couple weeks ago and said that they're not gonna make standards like in their Tacoma anymore. Not even gonna offer it as an option.
Yeah. Well, I still got an old one from the '90s, but which is good because that teaches the kids how to drive it, even though they don't really need to. But now is it okay? I got a person learned automatic or a person that just had a self-driving car, and so I'm not aiming to start her with a self-driving car. Seems like that would be in the long run be a bad proposition. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about that, man. That'd be weird. I think about that every time I get into my car because it does self-drive.
Because you're
and I think,
slowly losing your ability to drive. One day you're just going to be, you're going to get in a car.
oh, when I get in a car where I actually have to drive now, it's for the birds. I don't even like it. You know,
Yeah.
unless it's specific. So if you want to go rock crawling or you want to go, drive a race car or some type of off-road racing or something, yeah, I like that, and I have cars to do those things. So what's ended up happening is like your day-to-day stuff that you have to do all of the time, I use the car that drives itself.
Yeah.
The speciality stuff that you want to go and do like a specific task, no, I have a car that does that.
I got another one for you. Similar. It's just like spell check.
Uh-oh.
Because I was looking at, like, for me in elementary school, spelling was a big deal. We had these spelling words every week. You had to go through them. And I was kind of wondering,
I remember that.
it's like, how rigid are we being with that now in elementary school? Because nothing's written in, and very few things are handwritten anymore. A lot of things are typed in, especially once you get past, like, I don't know, 5th grade or something, right? And so everyone's built in with spell check in everything they do. When I spell typing, I assume the computer's going to help me, right? I'm getting it close, and then, right? I know
You just get it close,
Yeah.
and then hopefully it figures it out.
Yeah, and every once in a while I mess one up so bad it can't figure it out. I'm like, oh, I'll go back. And I'm generally a pretty decent speller, but there's plenty of stuff that I don't type right.
I am not.
Yeah, that's true.
I get it close, and then technology helps me out.
Right. So it's similar to that, right? I think you still should learn the words and not necessarily. So you should learn how to drive. So with
Yeah.
this AI concept,
It'll be interesting.
yeah, because you got to still learn how to learn too, right? You don't want to just like
I think that's the biggest deal, was learning how to learn. Right?
Mhm.
And don't just rely on it. But in different ways it helps out. So back to applying it to our industry. Like how could you apply it to our industry? And that's one of the things I'm worried about with new grads coming in. Because where I see it most beneficial at is in lower level tasks that need to get done.
But then how do you become a senior level
But then
experienced
how do you become a
professional
senior level guy?
if you skipped all the stuff in the beginning
That's right.
because you didn't have to go through that step,
Correct.
right?
Right.
The computer just always did it for you, and then you're like, oh, I don't even know the fundamentals of why it came up with that decision. I just put it in, got the decision, moved on.
right.
But you kind of need to know why to orchestrate that,
Yeah.
across an organization.
So that's where I see it. So there's two places I guess I see it actively being like applied. I don't want to say applied because it's new, right? But it's like trying to be applied, if you will. I see it as on
Replace the young people, huh?
well, no, I see it on the theoretical side. So if you want to run like process simulations and you want to do a lot, and I'll give you an example of that. So I'm trying to design like a 75 kilowatt like solar system, right? Okay, well, using different AI models, Grok, whatever. I go there and I tell it my location, I tell it what I want, I tell it what my needs are, all my variables, and then it tries to design that. Tells me how many solar panels I need, tells me what kind of controllers I need, tells me the battery types that would be the most efficient, right? And it'll lay it all out. Doesn't know everything, because one, you do that through different iterations of, hey, I'm thinking of this, and then it spits out its answer or its design, and then you kind of tweak it, right? You're like, oh well, I forgot, don't worry about having space. I got plenty of land, so you can, if you need like 3 or 4 acres, whatever, right? I want them on the ground mounted. I don't want them on my roof. Does that kind of make sense? Don't worry about AC in the container or whatever the battery and the controllers are going to go in. I already have provisions for that, right? And stuff like that, right? So you kind of tweak that concept design, and it'll run as many iterations as you want. It'll change it right there on the fly, which traditionally that would be almost like a feed package, right? Like you would go to an engineering company and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing, and then they would give you something back, and then you'd kind of go back and forth with the engineering company. Well, now I'm doing that with Grok, right? I'm just asking those questions. But that's all conceptual. None of that is like real yet, right? So I'm seeing it applied in that area. And then, like I said earlier, I'm seeing it applied in just the overall data. Like, hey, I got a bunch of documents. I want to know what is in this information. Here you go. Try to contextualize it. What I'm wondering, though, is why can't it do simple tasks? Right? Like what I'm trying to do is figure out specifically in our industry, like, hey, man, I got some simple tasks that I just need to do. I need to pick up red lines in the field, right? I need to change a few points on a spec sheet or something because my tech went out there and recalibrated it. Why can't it do that? Why can't it pick up those marks? Why can't it change that? That's a very simple task, really, right? And it gets even simpler if you have your information in, like what you were saying earlier, like a data repository, right? Like if your information isn't file-based, isn't CAD-based, you already have all your documentation in like an actual real data set, like an enterprise application, like a smart plan application or a Viva application. Well, if my tech goes out there and updates a wiring drawing, why can't he come back, feed that to the AI? The AI finds all of those marks on it and compares it to the data inside of the system, and then puts that in front of the user and says, hey, do you want me to update this? And then boom, updates it, right? User acceptance, right? Guy's got to accept the changes, but then updates it. And then you could apply that to your entire MOC process, right? You could apply that to as-builting at the end of the project. Think of all the as-builts that you get from the end of a project. What if you just ran that through your AI system? That's what I'm thinking. Wouldn't that be easier? I mean, that would be like real-world application. Not easier. Wouldn't it be easier? That would be a real-world application of AI that would actually benefit your project execution, that would actually benefit your site maintenance and engineering, right? That's kind of where, so I don't want to say a bottom-up approach, but that's not the conceptual level that I'm seeing right now in the industry. In the industry, I'm seeing it all, hey, what if we have it up here in this conceptualized area? Okay, well, that's great. I got guys in the plant that have to do day-to-day tasks. How can it help them? That's the questions I'm asking, right? Like, how can it help that tech? How can it help that process automation guy in the plant? Like, what's it going to do for that guy? Because those guys are running my facility. So,
Yep.
do you think that is going to be talked about at this conference? Or do you think it's going to be totally missed and glossed over?
I'd be surprised, honestly, if that's talked about. I'll see. I'll look for it.
Yeah, look for it. Because I think it's missed. I think
it'll be more about the design scenarios, more about, trying to auto create from the front end of the concept. I feel like that's probably the direction that everyone would be thinking. But I'll look for it and see.
Yeah, I think most people are thinking from the front end of the concept, but then you have all of these facilities. I mean, I just off the top of my head, I don't know if this number is correctly, but there's hundreds, if not thousands, of facilities that are existing just in North America alone. Some of those facilities were established, 50 years ago. What do you do with that? How do you use the technology of today to make those facilities more efficient? And I think people aren't really thinking about that as much. At least in all the conferences that I've been to and everybody I've talked to, it seems like what they're applying it from the top level, the conceptual level, going down. And I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say low-hanging fruit, but I think there's a lot of fruit down there that we could apply it right now. The technology's there right now. It's advanced enough right now. Why are we not doing that? And make all of it better. And then the question, I guess, to wrap around to our other point is if I'm doing that, what do I need high-value resource centers for? Can I get AI and technology today to be the new high-value resource center? Right? That's the other question I have in my mind, right? Like, can I use it to be that for me? So I don't have to use a high-value resource center? Can I get my SMEs to augment, like a high-value resource center basically augments your staff, right? Well, can I use AI to augment my staff and do the same thing? And then my SMEs and my technical experts just kind of manage what AI does and verifies it to make sure it's not hallucinating, as they say, right? Like those are the questions I'm asking. I don't know. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good application. It's good to think about it in those smaller terms and see if it works. One of the things everyone struggles with is having the staff to maintain the fundamental documentation of a site. The first priority, is to run the site. And then secondarily, any modifications or any changes, you want to keep the drawings and blueprints up to date so that the next time you need to analyze or fix something, you trust the information that you have. And so there's seems to be a prevalent scenario where the balance between the team members needed to run a facility and do the maintenance on it kind of struggle with finding enough resources to keep up with all the documentation that trails behind that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to fix something in your house, you just fix it, right? You don't then go update some drawing generally that, you know what I mean? That says, hey, I had to, replace the ceiling fan, so now my ceiling fan is different. No, you just look at it and you're like, oh, it's different.
Replace it.
Right? Because you don't have that, there it's your time. It's, you're not going to go like store it in a log somewhere. I mean, you might for certain things, but if you transform that or you apply that same little scenario out to an industrial facility, obviously it's more important to keep up with the blueprints of that, and whether that's on drawings or whether that's in a data system or whatever. And so the ability to have the person who's actually doing it make their markup, in the easiest way possible, and just feed that in and say, okay, let me let the information maintain itself. That'd be great. Now, you brought up hallucinations, which I think are an important topic here, in that if you're doing something research-oriented or creative type scenario, you kind of hear a lot about this idea that the AI system might add, embellish, do things there that you don't want. I think when we've used these systems for very specific, hey, what's the difference? Show me old value, new value, update. I don't think we've really seen that. We have seen that where we apply it to a drawing and just say, hey, you know, may say there are 50 objects on the drawing that we care about, and we say, go get them all and summarize everything. We have seen some vulnerability there in the AI models to do that.
In the
well,
earlier
actually,
models,
right?
we've seen that, yeah, where you specifically know that there's 50 objects and you tell it to go look for them, and then it comes back and gives you like 30. And you're like, oh, wait a minute. There's 20 more objects there. You missed some. Go get them.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all nice about it. And it's like, oh, yeah, no problem. And then it goes and it comes back and it finds all 50.
Right. So one of the things you're trying to do with AI is you're trying to say, technically there's a task here that, let's say it takes a person 5 minutes. I can turn that into 5 seconds with the right technology. So if there's a risk in terms of how well that interpretation is done, is it not unreasonable to just say, hey, I'm gonna use 2, and instead of 5 minutes to 5 seconds, I'm going to go 10 seconds because I'm going to run it through option A to interpret it and make a decision, option B, and just compare the results. And we haven't really talked much about that, but I mean, I think if you're talking about like actual critical information, equipment info, I do think it's worth starting with a little bit of a belts and suspenders type attitude rather than just saying, yeah, those hallucinations aren't really
Yeah,
concern.
that's always. So I got two things on that. I'll talk about hallucinations because I think that term is funny. For the common person, I'm no AI like expert. For the common person, that's just a funny term to me. But I do think that the approach that I am taking or we are taking is more of a practical approach, and I don't even like to call it necessarily AI. I like to call it like augmented intelligence because what we're trying to do is augment the worker. Like use AI in a practical way to augment what the worker is doing to make the worker more efficient in what they need to get done. Right? So if it takes them 30 minutes to do a task. Okay, well, how can I make 30 minutes 15 minutes? That's step one, right? And then how can I make it faster than that? How can I make 15 minutes 7.5 minutes? You know what I mean? Because you're going to get to a point of a diminishing returns. It's not going to, you're going to get to a point where it's as fast as it can be at that point in time. You're going to hit that. So yeah, I would say that's our main focus. Or my main focus is to figure out how we can actually augment what we're currently already doing and how we can make that better now with the technology that's out there. And I think people skip over that, and that's why AI feels like sometimes what did you say over the weekend? You're AI fatigued?
AI fatigue. Yeah.
I think that's why though, because they hear AI this, AI that, AI this, and nobody actually like, okay, show me a practical application where I can use it. I'm a worker, I'm an engineer, I'm a designer, whatever. I'm a tech in the field. How does it make my job better?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
why is nobody asking that question or doing that type of research?
I looked up that term because I was just coming up with that at the moment. But apparently that is a term, but it's more like for people that are afraid of AI taking their jobs, so they're fatigued.
What?
They're fatigued by the pressure of AI coming.
Really?
But I was saying I'm just a little fatigued by the conversation, to be honest with you.
No, I understood what you were saying. I took it to you were fatigued by, hey, everybody talks about AI, but show me what it's actually doing, like right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Like,
great.
that's what you meant, right?
Yeah, it's really good at memes. I don't know if you saw that Oscars meme video
I did not.
recently. Had to do. Yeah, it was awesome. It's really good at those.
Oh man,
Makes
I'm gonna
good,
date
funny
I'm gonna
videos.
date myself right now. You probably don't know because you're not a nerd. You know what Dragon Ball Z is?
I know of it. Yeah, I was never a fan.
Okay, so the latest like image creation or whatever came out for Grok, and so I took a picture of my son, like standing in the living room,
Yeah.
and then I uploaded it to that, and I said, make a video of him going Super Saiyan, which is in Dragon Ball Z, where they like power up and their hair turns, white, I guess, or yellow, and they're like flames all around them. It totally did it. And
Yeah.
It looks hilarious. looks looks hilarious. Has him doing the whole thing where he's like flexing his muscles. His shirt like rips and he gets all huge and his hair turns yellow. Looks kind of real, kind of cartoony, but kind of real at the same time. It's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's great for stuff like that.
It's excellent.
He thought it was hilarious and he loved it. Every
Yeah.
minute of it.
I can't remember the last project I did where we were doing Dragon Ball Z pictures, but right there in the middle of like equipment, piping. So I'm not sure that I'd use that feature just yet, but I understand what you're saying. It is excellent at that.
Oh yeah. The other thing I did, I play around with it all of the time because I'm just intrigued.
Yeah.
So I took a picture. We were watching a movie or something, right? And I took a picture of the TV screen. And say it's like Shrek. We're watching Shrek. Boom, picture of the TV screen. And then I put a prompt in it, and I told it, have Shrek crawl out of the TV and sit on the couch. And it made a video of Shrek crawling out of the TV and then walking and sitting on my couch. Just from the picture.
Mm-hmm.
It was hilarious. Now it does stuff that's, I guess this is what hallucinations would
A
be.
couple extra toes on Shrek or something.
Yeah, it does some stuff that's kind of weird. Like my dog is black, right? I got like a black shepherd dog, and it was laying to where you couldn't really tell if it was. You could tell it was an animal in the picture. You could tell it was an animal, but not really what kind it was. And of course, Shrek crawls out of the TV and sits on the couch, and my dog turns into a cat.
Yeah.
You're like, what? Where did that even come from, right? That's weird. No, so next time, you're going to be in Orlando, Florida. So I'll be here all by myself. So I'll have to come up with something for our next podcast. But when you come back, I want to hear all about this conference, this art conference.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That'll happen.
I want to know about it.
Good.
I want to see if they talk about any of the actual practical uses of AI within our industry at all. 'Cause
I'll take some notes.
I'm gonna bet you right now that they don't. It's all gonna be theoretical. None of it's gonna be real application to the guy in the plant.
Okay. We're gonna see.
Bet. What are we betting?
Oh man. One time I lost a bet. I had to wear this Arkansas hog hat
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
weird Razorback pants and jacket.
Yeah.
But since we don't really have that rivalry thing going there, I don't know exactly.
Okay. We're gonna have to come up with something. We'll come up with something. That'll be for
Okay.
next time.
Okay, great.
Have a good day. There. Now we're on.
That wasn't awkward at all.